Hello everybody, welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this is all the banned cards you can shake a stick at. So, Bloodbraid Elf is free, Jace is free, and we're trying to play them together here. Now, it looks like we're playing against Burn, which I don't know how that matchup is. Our opponent doesn't seem to have the best start going on. We'll go ahead and resolve this Ancestral Vision here, or rather, suspend it. Hopefully resolve it. We'll fetch out a basic forest next turn. We'll have Tarmogoyf after that. We'll see. The fact our opponent led on Rift Bolt on a mulligan here bodes well for us, so I don't know how this matchup is overall. We will see. We've got Lightning Bolt if they do play a creature we care about, and it turns out they're going to. So, all right. So, well, interesting decision here. I guess, yeah, okay, fair enough. I guess we're just going to take it all. I think I just have to prioritize my life total above all else here. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch out a basic forest and just play Tarmogoyf because doing anything else to answer this Monastery Swift Sphere just gets us completely, just takes a lot of damage to ourselves to do it. So what I'm going to do is play the Tarmogoyf. It can block the Swift Spear. Our opponent's on a mulligan, and this Sword of Light Shadow is actually very, very good in the matchup. I think I just have to block here. They essentially have to spend 2 spells to get our Tarmogoyf off the board and probably still lose their Swift Spear in the process. Sure, we'll go down to 8. Yeah, we trade and our opponent's down to 1 card. That's probably about as, as good of an outcome as we could hope for there. Well, this isn't ideal. I guess I just have to play the Raging Ravine here. And next turn, depending on what we can, maybe Bloodbraid, we can play Tracker plus land, and then, hopefully on turn 5 have 5 and equip the Sword of Light and Shadow to it. This game basically ends if we can swing with this, I would think. That's what we're working towards here. I believe we get our Ancestral Vision next turn. So, okay, here's a question. And I think this is what I do. I think I fetch, 7 is... It is a little different than 8. It means we're dead to Boros Charm plus a Bolt effect, but I think it's an acceptable risk here because we just have to we have to do something to affect the board and our opponent. So we're going to go ahead and Cascade with this Bloodbraid Elf. We're going to hit a Tarmogoyf. That's basically what we want. That's pretty good here. On the one hand, it means our opponent might need 1 less card to kill us. On the other hand, it means they have 1 less turn to draw it. So in a lot of ways, it's functionally not that different. And now, depending on what happens here, we can just shock ourselves with a Breeding Pool to put the Light and Shadow on our Tarmogoyf and hit with it if it looks like we're going to resolve that. So we've been Lightning Helix down to 4. So if our opponent has Boros Charm, we're dead. If they have 2 Lightning Bolts, we're dead. Now I can't shock myself. And they have the Boros Charm. Well, yeah, that's the way it goes. That's not our opponent drew. They mulliganed, but they drew very, very well there after that. All right, onto the sideboard, huh? It doesn't seem like we have very many good options here. Guess we'll play these Dispels. I guess we'll cut the Jace. I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do here. This doesn't seem like a very good matchup for us, that's for sure. Sure, we'll give this one a shot. Yeah, that game was a little awkward. I don't know if I could have sequenced things differently. I could have gone a little slower and played the tap land plus the Tireless Tracker there. And then if on next turn we end up at 1 from that Boros Charm, and if we hit an untapped land, which basically just means a basic, then we get to put the sword on it. And the odds of that are pretty low. This hand though, it's got a lot of what we're looking for here. We get a lead on a Noble Hierarch, and we get to play, if we want, just say turn 2 Light and Shadow, and then put it on the Hierarch on turn 3 and get in there. That is an option. Let's see what our opponent has. Goblin Guide, huh? Let's get some information here at least. Lightning Bolt has entered. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty awkward, but I think that I'm going to go ahead and shock myself here and just do the full damage so we can Lightning Bolt this Goblin Guide. I don't really think I have a better choice. I'll save it for the attack, but you know, the reason I'm doing this is we still get to do something with the turn. We get to play a Scavenging Ooze here, which is good, you know, throughout the game, and untapping with it's very powerful. And there's a huge benefit if we can, you know, have the opportunity to have 5 mana in play and play the sword and try to equip it at the same time. Now, doing this damage to ourselves is not exactly ideal, but we have at least blanked the Goblin Guide in theory. Looks like our opponent's probably actually... No, we saw Stomping Ground in game 1, so... But probably no Atarkus Commander or anything like that, I imagine. Well, there's a Searing Blaze onto the Scavenging Ooze. Here comes the Goblin Guide. Revealed a Serum Visions. Okay, well, we'll bolt it down. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is Serum Visions here, see what we draw. Kitchen Finks is a pretty good draw, to be honest. I actually want both of these, and I want the land first. Yeah, Kitchen Finks when our opponent stepped out. That's pretty important here. We're going to go back up to 14. Yeah, maybe I just want to draw the land. I don't know. Well, I mean, rather the Dispel. The issue is that if we fetch, we're going to go ahead and lose it. But if our opponent taps out here and I get a Slam Sword, you know, that's a no-brainer. And they might here, because I'm clearly blocking the Swift Spear, which will incentivize them to go ahead and cast another spell, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, Kitchen Finks just completely changes the way this matchup looks. You know, it went from, you know, we went in on that Scavenging Ooze, and our opponent was able to Searing Blaze it, and we had dealt ourselves damage, and none of that's particularly great for us, but you just play one Kitchen Finks, get a couple life, but there's really annoying blocker out on the field that also gains life on the back end, and that is just very, very difficult for an opponent to interact with. It's, you know, for life, they have to add, plus whatever you block in combat, or they have to Skullcrack to prevent you from gaining the life, but either way, you're getting value out of it. And if our opponent swings here and then Skullcracks or something, that's basically ideal for us, because we would still trade with the Swift Spear. We wouldn't gain the life when it comes back, but then we get to play the sword, and they just do nothing instead. I don't believe that it is worth doing anything but passing here. I think we're just going to end up Vendilion clicking on their end step. Basically, we want our opponent to tap out or at least tap low on spells here. I may as well do this in their draw step, to be honest. All right, so we'll Vendilion click in our opponent's draw step, and if we see that the way is clear to slam the sword onto something, we should be able to take it from there. There's no reason to attack this. Kitchen Finks has so much more value as a blocker, and this game isn't going to be decided by, you know, us racing them or anything like that. It's going to be decided on whether or not we are able to make this sword connect. And there's the Skullcrack. That'll put us down to 8. But this is exactly what we want, because now we get to see our opponent's hand, and we get to know whether or not the way is going to be clear for this sword. And they've already drawn for the turn here as this Vendilion click. It's going to show us what 3 cards they're working with. And they're still thinking about it. They've cracked us down to 8. Now they have 1 mana open, and they're deciding what to do, as with the Vendilion click on the stack. So let's see. I would love for them to just tap out and just, you know, lightning bolt our Vendilion click or our face or whatever it is they want to do. Anything that means I am free to crack this Rainforest and swing it with a Sword of Light and Shadow. Okay, and they're going to lightning. This actually makes sense from their perspective. They're going to lightning bolt the Kitchen Finks because they Skullcracked us this turn, so we don't get to gain the life. It makes sense from our opponent's perspective. They do have a... All right, well... Yeah. Put the Boros Charm at the bottom of the library. They get to draw 1 for it. They have a Lava Spike in hand. That means they're pretty much dead, because they drew land, so they have Lava Spike. They can send in the Swift Spear, which I will happily chump block here with the Kitchen Finks. And friends, you are about to see some value in action here, because we are going to hit with this Sword of Light and Shadow, and then we're going to replay Kitchen Finks. Well, buy back Kitchen Finks with it, so that on our next turn, we can we can try to replay it. But just hitting here and getting the life back is probably going to be enough to seal the deal. Not necessarily. You know, our opponent does have a card in hand, and it'll put us back down to 7. So it's not over from there if they were to, say, draw into Destructive Revelry to hit our sword. But, yeah, all in all, I think this one is pretty much going to be ours for the taking here. Yeah, next turn we get to go Kitchen Finks plus Tarmogoyf, so not only do we have everything we want, we're going to actually turn the corner here very quickly. Lava Spike us down. So basically they need Boros Charm off the top, I think. I mean, that would be lethal if they had Boros Charm. Does not look like they do, though. Alright, so we'll slam on in here with the Vendilion Click. And it all comes down to, they have Skullclark Crack or not? They do not. So that should pretty much do it here. I don't think we're favored in game 3, though. This can't be very good for us. Alright, we will play out a Kitchen Finks, gain a couple more life. That should pretty much put it away here and play Scavenging Unit so we can gain some life next turn if we need to. But I think we've got there in this game. Can we get there in game 3 is a much more difficult question to answer because their deck is pretty good against ours. There's no way Jace on the draw is good, but I don't know that any of the rest of this is good either. I guess Pyroclasm could theoretically hit something. I don't know. Boarding out Jace feels bad. I've certainly watched Jace and Team On in Super League last week beat Burn, but I don't think I want it here on the draw. Not only these Bloodbraid Elves here as well. Wish we had access to more Kitchen Finks, that's for sure. But at least Pyroclasm, if they go Goblin Guide or Monetary Swift Sphere or something, some combination of those things, maybe Eidolon on turn 2, we can take them off the board at least. Yeah, possible to get a 2-for-1 with Pyroclasm or, you know, a 1-for-1 even, which is more than we're going to get on Jace in the turns that are relevant. Well, I'm not mulliganing this hand. It's real close. If we draw some sort of red source here, that'd be pretty good for us. Our opponent's going to have the Goblin Guide. All right, let's see if they help us out here. Really need this Goblin Guide to be good. Fingers crossed. It wasn't great. Yeah, I guess we just sank them into Hierarch here. I'm not feeling awesome. This hand, I think you've got to keep the hand. It's got a lot of what we want, but you know we do have to draw land, and definitely would like our opponent to. Well, that's pretty disastrous. Turn 2, and we're 13. Sounds great. Okay, well, there's that. I don't really think I have any option but to play Tarmogoyf here, and I can't even fetch for red. I mean, I could. It doesn't seem like a great idea here. I mean, I guess I could get the Stomping Ground and hold up Dispel or suspend Ancestral Vision this turn. And then next turn play Lumbering Falls and Pyroclasm and or Goyf, but it's all just worse than just playing Goyf here. Not that I think any of these options are good. I think we're probably very, very dead, but I think we just need to try to block the Goblin Guide. And his Ancestral Visions are kind of awkward when you're getting under so much pressure. You can't take a turn off to suspend them. And maybe I should have done it on turn 1. I admit I'm not an expert at playing with them here, but maybe we should have just suspended one on turn 1 and taken the turn off, so to speak. But, all right, already down to 6, huh? Feels bad. You know, I guess we get to suspend one here. The attack is stalled out for the moment. We've got the Goblin Guide under control. We have a Dispel here for one of the spells, but if our opponent is really just on 2 lands and nothing but burn spells, we're essentially dead. They're gonna crack in, huh? Okay. Tireless Tracker. That's not exactly what we want on top. Well, I guess maybe this means our opponent's actually going to try to kill our Tarmogoyf. No? Okay, just the suicide. I don't know, whatever. All right. I don't think that I can play any of these swords. I think we just have to hope our opponent is on basically nothing. Actually, the reason our opponent did that, yeah, I mean, I have to give him credit for this, is we're obviously not attacking with Tarmogoyf if Goblin Guide's on the board, but if Goblin Guide is off the board, then, you know, there's a chance we'll attack with Tarmogoyf, and then they get to play another Goblin Guide to crash on in, and we don't have a blocker. So, I mean, I at least have to give my opponent credit for that, and we'll dispel this Boros Charm here, but it's going to be pretty unlikely for us to pull out this one. We needed to draw lands. And if we did, if we had a fourth land here and we were actually setting up to then try to slam Sword of Light and Shadow on turn 5 and get on in there, then we'd have something to talk about. But as is, things not looking great. Just playing the waiting game with burn here, not where you want to be. Well, there's a land. Play Tracker. Get a clue. Do I attack now? No, I don't think so. Like I said, I think this game comes down to us hitting with a Sword of Light and Shadow, and I mean, honestly, I don't know. My opponent, whether if they're just holding on to lands and, you know, tricking us, then so be it. But yeah, we're down to 3. Good news is we can crack this with the Foothills without fear, because 3 is the same as 2. And the same as 1. And pretty soon I think it's going to be the same as 0 here. So, Ancestral Vision coming off next turn. It doesn't matter. Our opponent has it all. Okay, well, never really had a shot in that game. Does not seem like a good matchup for our deck. But, hey, we took 1 and we almost stole game 1. But either way, there you go. Maybe Jace and Bloodbraid, maybe not so broken after all, if you can still fling enough lava spikes at someone's face to kill them. But thank you for watching, everybody. I'm Corbin Hostler. This is Mighty Modern. I'll see you next week.